Rahim. Ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum, Guten Morgen, good morning. I welcome you to the third webinar of the series of webinars planned for Virtual TEXPO. Personal protective equipment and workwear have been a major segment in textile industry. However, during the last 1 year of pandemic, this segment has gained more importance. The pandemic reminded us of one lesson which was taught in early school years. Never put your eggs in one basket. Pandemic and related supply chain disruptions have once again exposed the risk of over-reliance on a single source. Time has come to diversify the sourcing options. Pakistan has stepped up its efforts to build upon its expertise in textiles and establish itself as a reliable source of PPE. In this regard, we offer a lot of possibilities to the world, both for sourcing and establishing joint ventures. Today's webinar is one such effort to introduce Pakistan's exporters to this segment. I have with me today Mr. Thomas Lange, Managing Director of the IVPS, German PPE Manufacturers Association. He will be talking about personal protective equipment and workwear market in Germany, market trends in wake of COVID, and legal requirements for approval of PPE and workwear. We also have with us Ms. Birgit Horn, who is the project director of A+A, world's leading trade fair for safety, security, and health work. A+A has been a very important fair for Pakistan. Many of our exhibitors have been exhibiting their products there. And Ms. Horn will speak about how A+A can provide opportunities to Pakistani exporters. And she will also brief on the preparation for physical and web-based fairs. A+A 2021 is scheduled from 26th to 29th October this year. We earnestly hope that it will be held physically and will be the first fair for Pakistani exporters to showcase their product this year. So I will request Mr. Thomas Lange to begin with his presentation. He will be followed by Ms. Birgit, and finally we will have a question answer session. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Chair. So first of all, I would like to share the presentation, and I hope it will be okay. Okay, do you see the presentation? Okay. Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak to you today and give you a little insight to the German PPE market, PPE abbreviation for personal protective equipment, and the workwear market. I will then briefly outline the legal requirements that must be met when placing products on the European market in Germany and in the European Union. Let me introduce myself briefly. My name is Thomas Lange. As you already mentioned, I'm the Managing Director of the IVPS, and I'm the Managing Director of the German Fashion Association as well. And at the same time, I'm a German lawyer and give legal advice to member companies on placing PPE and workwear on the European market. So I hope I can give you good advice today. Well, the IVPS is, I have to start the presentation, sorry. The IVPS is the only German association that represents the entire PPE industry. And therefore, we have a very strong bond with a trade, air, and the IVPS cooperates perfectly with Messe Düsseldorf. In this respect, I'm very pleased to be able to make the brief presentation with Mrs. Horn today. Well, on the next slide, you can see a number of companies, member companies of the IVPS. They are international oriented member companies like 3M, you see that company on the first line on the left side. And on the other hand, we also have companies from the medium-sized sector, such Bartels and Rieger or Bornack. You see them here in the first line as well, in the middle. We, the IVPS, represent all manufacturers of the different PPE areas, from head protection to protective clothing and foot protection. So unfortunately, there are no official statistic figures on the PPE market, so we have to refer to studies, to private studies. And I want to give you an overview of the value market of the PPE industry and the German market. And you see that the PPE market in Germany has a turnover of 2.23 billion euros. In 2018, we have an increase in that figure in 2019, but I only have the figures from 2018. And it's the whole PPE market, 2.23 billion euros. And that's important for you maybe, is the manufacturer's selling price without VAT. Manufacturing selling price, VAT, and that's the figure for all manufacturers that sells PPE in Germany. The largest sector is protective clothing. You see it here, with nearly 800 million, followed by hand protection, and followed by foot protection. And on the fourth place, we have respiratory protection with 266 million euro. And all the other areas followed by skin protection, protection against high fall, eye protection, ear protection, and head protection. That's the overview for the German market of PPE for you. And what is the current economic situation in wake of COVID at the moment? Well, as you probably know, we are currently in a second lockdown in Germany, and thereby personal protective equipment is in a great demand, such as FFP2 mask. They are proved by the harmonized standard, European standard 149, and protective clothing against effective agents proved by the harmonized standard 14126, especially for the medical staff, the demand especially for the medical staff in Germany. Well, on the other hand, deliveries of PPE to the German industry, for instance, for the automotive, is currently very difficult. The consumer mood is at the moment very low, so no car sales, the employees are on short-time work, and therefore they don't need new PPE at the moment.
Mr. Ranke, I would just request you to stop for a moment. I received one message on my WhatsApp from one of the visitors. He can't see your presentation. Is there a problem with others also? Because I can see the presentation.
Sir, we can also see the presentation.
You can also see?
Yes.
Okay, okay, then we can continue. Maybe it's...
Sorry for that. It's not my fault.
Okay, no, it's okay. Okay, go.
Okay, let's move to Workwear. On this slide, you see a selection of members of the German Fashion Association who produce workwear. Most of those members also produce PPE. I have both workwear and PPE. And we do have official data figures for the workwear industry. And the German manufacturers of workwear, for example, had a turnover of 518 euro in 2019. While this figure does not include all of them, it is assumed that the actual figure is much higher. Some say double the market value. Well, in 2019, we had a slight increase of 0.6, you see that here, compared to the previous year, 2018. Well, in 2020, we suffered a greater loss of turnover due to the COVID-19 situation. So we had a minus of the turnover of 3.7 minus of the turnover. But that is much lower than in the fashion industry. You see we had a minus in the fashion industry of minus 21.2. So the current economic situation in the wake of COVID is similar to PPE in one way. In case of workwear, deliveries to the craft sector are going quite well. All these men are allowed to work. And the situation of workwear deliveries to industry is just as difficult as for PPE at the moment. So we have two sides we have to look at. Okay, let's move to the legal requirements. I would like to explain to you which legal requirements you have to fulfill if you want to place PPE or workwear on the European market or on the German market. So first of all, we have a look to the regulation 2016/425. That's the basic law in Germany and the European Union, which the basic health and safety requirements are based in that regulation. So you have to fulfill all the requirements laid down in this regulation. And so we have different types of categories of PPE. We do have a category 1, category 2, and category 3. Category 1 is for low risk, category 2 is for middle risk, and category 3 is for high risk. So if we just look to category 1, you must check the necessary technical requirements by yourself. You do a self-certification. For category 2 and for category 3, you must carry out an EU type examination at a notified body approved in the European Union. So you put a model of your product, you have to bring it to a notified body. The notified body proves it if the harmonized standard is fulfilled. And after that, you will get, as a manufacturer, an EU type examination certificate. And that's what you need to bring PPE or to put PPE in circulation in Germany and in the European Union. For category 3 products, an annual inspection must also be carried out on the product or the quality system. You see it here, category 3, EU type examination and an annual proof of the product or the quality system. All the products are tested against harmonized standards. For example, the EN 2041 for high visibility clothing. Each product must be a CE marking. In addition to the CE marking, category 3 also needs the identification number of the notified body. So you always can see that must be a category 3 CE marking plus the identification number of the notified body. Well, if you produce FFP2 mask, for example, you need the CE marking and the number. Finally, each product must be accompanied by a manufacturer's declaration of conformity. So the manufacturer has to sign this declaration, and if he signs this declaration, at that moment he is liable for the product and had to compensate all the damage which is caused by the manufacturers through his product. Okay, so just to repeat it, you have to fulfill all the provisions of the regulation 2016-425 plus a harmonized standard, and that is the legal requirements for placing PPE on the European market in every European member state, in every. So what are the requirements for workwear? If you put workwear in circulation on the European market, well, we only have to fulfill the basic general acts in Germany and in Europe. First of all, every clothing product, every garment needs a label with a textile, with a fiber composition. You probably know that, it's not you. Secondly, you have to respect the REACH regulation. The manufacturer placing workwear with substances on the market includes in the list of restricted substances, according to Annex 17 of the REACH regulation, is either restricted or prohibited. And if you sell a product on the market and this product does not comply with the legal requirements, probably not comply with the PPE regulation, not comply with the textile labeling regulation, you are acting unfair according to the German Act of Unfair Competition, and you can be held liable for the damage. Any competitor can claim this damage, and some consumer association as well. Finally, the workwear product must be safe as well, and you have to fulfill the German Product Safety Act and to endanger the wearer. If the workwear is worn by a consumer, that's now quite important, a European address of a responsible company, like the importer, is required on the product. So we always need a German or a European address on the product. That's the same system like for PPE and the same system for normal workwear. Okay, that was a briefly a presentation, and thank you very much for your attention. And I would like to pass on to Birgit Holm.
Thank you very much, sir, for your presentation. It was brief, but still very elaborative. And I would request if you can email this to us so that we can also keep it in our record in Pakistan, first to guide people who are seeking to enter the German market, if it is possible for you.
No problem.
Now I would request Ms. Horn to please start with her presentation on A+A and the prospects it offers to Pakistani exporters. Thank you, madam.
Thank you very much. I just try to share my screen too. Hope you can see it. Does it work? Yeah, wonderful. All right. Well, thank you very much, Thomas Lange. We really work very closely for the PPE industry or this part at A+A, which you for sure know. It is the biggest exhibition part at A+A, and I'm very, very pleased that we have all this legal advice here as well, because it's important that the products shown at A+A are really available on the European market. And you know probably from your past experience that we actually check the products on display to give the visitor of the show a real information of how he can use and if he can use the displayed product really for his work here in Germany or in the whole of Europe. Well, thank you very much for the opportunity for joining you here today. Greetings from Germany, Düsseldorf. It's a little bit gray and rainy here today. We have about 10 degrees. I don't know what it's like in Pakistan at the moment.
I think Asad will tell us he's in Karachi. Karachi must be quite moderate in today's temperature.
Yes, sir.
So, oh, good. All right. I mean, for us, it's a little bit warm for February, I
Yeah,
have to say. But, and we're facing high level waters at the River Rhine.
Yeah,
but all safe.
Same as in Frankfurt, I think, all gray and all slight rain, light rain. Okay.
All right, but I think it's really nice, right, that now we have the chance to, even though I'm in Düsseldorf, you're in Frankfurt or in Pakistan, we all have the chance to connect. And I know it's different, and it's different to not meet in person. And that's why we're so much looking forward to A+A in October. But at least we have the chance to communicate, right? Even across long distances and as long as the technical equipment works, right? So you have the date here already for A+A. So please put it in your calendar, 26th to 29th of October this year. And we're really looking forward to being able to welcome the PPE world again to A+A this year. And the feedback that we received so far from the industry is really, really high, of high interest. So registrations are shut for A+A. So we do have very, very good feedback, and everyone is really looking forward to come back to a real trade show and meet in person. We discussed with the industry and the associations that are supporting us, like the IVPS or the German Fashion Association, what are the key drivers for the PPE industry in this year? And we came to the conclusion that the biggest drivers of the development in our industry are now digitization and sustainability. So these will be the focal topics for A+A this year. It will be covered, these topics will be covered in the Trend Forum. It's one stage at the trade show where visitors can gain the latest know-how related to PPE and the digitization, for example, or sustainability and PPE. We will also publish in the upcoming months some press articles, in-depth researched press articles related to digitization and sustainability. So please check out the website as well for the latest news and background information on digitization and sustainability and PPE, I have to add. Now, what are the trends included in that, or how can we differentiate the different topics? Of course, now as we are talking online, the supply of PPE will change in the future, right? We do have different how do you say that in English? It's the first thing is service levels are much more digitized. PPE suppliers can actually see with vending machines how many products are still available at the customer side, how many products need to be delivered, how many need to be replaced, and this is all on a digital service network. So you can see actually what products need to be supplied and what products need to be replaced, for example. A big issue that we will focus more on in the future, it was on display at A+A in 2019 already, but it's growing in importance, is the topic of exoskeletons. So how can robotics, for example, support the worker, for example, with carrying high weight? The industry, or especially very forward-thinking research institutes, are developing new solutions of exoskeletons. We have an ongoing discussion at the moment if these exoskeletons are actually PPE, or is it not PPE, or is it a medical device, for example. So that's still in discussion, but I think these supporting robots will really change our work life in the future. When we look at sustainability, I think especially now in the pandemic, we saw the global supply chains are crucial, right? How can we keep the global supply chains up, even though there's maybe a shortage in different products? A+A will be the platform where the end user and the PPE suppliers will search as well for new sourcing where can they actually source the pre-product for producing the PPE? You know, A+A is the platform for the end product, but we also do present all the components and pre-products to produce PPE. And I think, we were in the first lockdown, right? We had a very strong shortage of PPE, especially for the medical staff. And that really created a higher awareness of the global supply chains. So where do the products come from? Are they stably delivered, and what new product sources are available? But the end user really requires sustainability proof of the working conditions, for example. So the question of sustainability as well in global supply chains is really growing. So, for example, public organizations, or for example, they put in their bidding process the request for the proof of a sustainable supply chain. So the PPE suppliers have to prove that they check the global supply chain with respect to sustainability issues. The next topic with respect to sustainability is also growing here, especially in Europe and in Germany, is how can we supply a circularity of the PPE product? So it's not only where does it come from and which products does it consist of, but also after the end user used the product, how can it be taken back into the circle? So how can PPE products, for example, be recycled? And what is then the end product, or how can the recycled product as well go back into the circle? So this will be a big discussion. I know with PPE, we do face some strong restraints for that, as a lot of PPE is reworked with chemicals, for chemical substances, but there need to be a supply or a solution for that in the future. And as I already said, the end customer requests a certified supply chain, or the end consumers require a certificate for the sustainability of the product. So we will as well have at A+A all the different legal marks and information about how sustainable certification can be achieved. Well, we are still in the pandemic, and we really hope for A+A to be able to take place in person, right, in live. You have the map here of A+A of 2019. We are at the moment working on the planning of the halls. You can imagine 2,100 customers were here in 2019, and we expect about the same level for 2021. But we have introduced a hygiene and safety concept, which demands larger aisles. For example, when you were at A+A, you can probably remember how busy and how crowded the halls were. So we really need to think about how can we stretch out the visitors and the exhibitors at A+A. Luckily, we have enough halls. Düsseldorf offers one of the largest exhibition centers in Germany, and we do still have room to grow A+A and to extend the space that we offer for exhibitors and visitors. But that reallocation of exhibitors just takes some time, and that's why we are still, or we will start the planning in March. But yeah, we will consider the hygiene standards, of course, and introduce the safety concept. Exhibitors who are interested in finding out about the safety concept can see that on our website, a+a.de. Right. The timing for the show, we start with the hall planning. Due to the pandemic and some shifts of other trade shows, we were forced to change the schedule a little bit backwards. So we will only start the hall planning in March and the visitor communication in May. So you are one of the first countries to find out about A+A for this year. The admission date is postponed by 2 months. It is the 28th of June. And of course, by then we hope to know more what the pandemic situation is, and that we are all out of this terrifying situation for all the countries. It's a global situation, right? And A+A is a global event. So we are also affected, of course, by the pandemic situation. But please put the date in your calendar, 26th to 29th of October. I'm very optimistic that we can all see each other here in Düsseldorf. And we will also offer, for the ones who cannot come in person to A+A, online features. You know, A+A has a big online program already, but we are now discussing which parts of A+A will be available online, and there will be parts of the Congress, that's for sure. We're thinking about some kind of trade show TV with our live demonstrations. You know, work safety and health really lives off experiencing the products, but maybe some of the live demonstrations can just give a glimpse of what is on display at A+A, and then really make the people wish to come in 2 years' time. And of course, the extraordinary database of A+A. In 2019, we had more than 8,000 products in the database, will be online. And we're currently in discussion with the exhibitors whether we will also offer product demonstrations online, so that they have on the one hand, the exhibition booths in the halls, and then on the other hand as well, the possibility to demonstrate their products in web sessions online. So these will be the 3 columns, right? We have the Congress, live demonstrations, and the database. So we know online events really consist of, benefit from high content levels. So we will supply as much information as we can. But on the other hand, the challenge is to group the information for everyone to find it, right? With 2,100 exhibitors or more than 8,000 products, you need to have a very good structure and overview that people actually find what they're looking for. So this is quite a challenge for a trade show like us, but we're working on it. And I'm sure in October, we will be able to supply you all with a good solution. If you're interested in the international presentations or partnerships of A+A, we do have cooperations on all the different continents. CIOSH in Shanghai will be the first event for the Chinese market. Then Russia in April. Neftegas, it's a show which is concentrated much more on the oil and gas industry, heavy users of PPE, as we all know. Then we have Singapore in July. and in Siberia, a mining show, which is also in need of strong PPE, also in June. So if you are interested in any of these shows, just come back to me and I would be pleased to forward the information. A+A is a big team, and the team matters. We all matter, people matter, and that's the topic of A+A. And we would be really looking forward to meeting you all in person in October here in Düsseldorf. Please take good care, stay healthy, and I wish you all the success that you're aiming for. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Horn, for your presentation and informing our participants about the A+A and different opportunities available with A+A. With this, I think we have come to the end of the two presentations. I would request our participants, if they have any questions regarding A+A or the German laws, so you're welcome to ask the questions, please.
I'm very sorry that Mr. Lange had to leave because he's requested to go into the governmental discussions for the industry, and my camera is still blinking. I hope it doesn't disturb you too much. But I would be pleased to take the questions for Mr. Lange too, and then forward them to him.
I think
no questions.
No questions. I think the presentation was quite detailed, and I asked Mr. Lange to send me the presentation. Once we have that, we can have it in our database also. So over to you, Asad. Would you like to say a few words?
I have a question from B.
Yeah, sorry. Okay, there's a question.
Yeah.
Please introduce yourself and go ahead with the question.
Yeah. Good morning, everyone. I'm Mr. Benedict from Nigeria. My question is that it's to B. I want to ask, what are the challenges encountered, especially during this period of the pandemic, COVID-19 pandemic, for the supply of PPEs in terms of safety, which she mentioned in the first instance, service delivery, supply of PPE, Exoskeletons. What are the challenges that have been encountered by suppliers, especially when it comes to export and imports during this period of COVID-19 pandemic? Thank you.
What I understand is the gentleman wanted to ask what are the different challenges because of the COVID to the supply chain which have been faced. Ms. Bridget, would you?
Okay. Well, I can just give you the feedback from the German market, right? We were facing, there's still a small amount of production of PPE, especially now the pandemic-related products in Germany. But I know at the beginning we were facing quite some challenges in receiving pre-products, because the demand for masks, for example, or for gloves and all the pandemic-related PPE products, the pre-products were really in shortage. So even the production in Europe was not able to continue to produce and to supply the high demand on products because there was such an increase. We saw companies, especially, for example, from the fashion industry, changing their production from fashion to masks. And just to receive the pre-product to produce the final mask was a real problem. And I think now this is all back to normal and we're not facing these restraints anymore. It was just at the beginning of the pandemic. I do not hear from anyone that there is a lack of pre-products at the moment. But there was as well, right, with the borders closed in the first lockdown on the first half of 2020, that was also creating quite some difficulties. Countries were discussing if they should allow to import or export PPE products, and that's a situation that we never saw right in the past. So I think by now we're all back to normal. We're back more we're more experienced in how can we keep up the global supply chains and what importance is in the different areas. So I think it was a short-term, breakup in the supply chain in the first half of 2020, but not now anymore, right? Is there any comment from your side? Do you see that differently?
I would just say that.
I got
sorry,
it.
I would just say that being in Germany, I would now say the mask we are getting for 10 cents now was worth €2 a few months back.
Yes,
So that
for
is
sure.
the amount of shortage we did experience and the price hike.
Thank you, Hambe. It's a new normal now that we have globally. It's a new normal. So I think countries have to put in place one measure or the other to make sure that they meet up with the supply of the PPEs and all of that. Thank you, Hambe.
I think I agree with you, and that is the first thing I pointed out, that diversification of supply chain is essential. This is one lesson we have learned, that we should not
Yes.
be banking on single source of supply. The whole of the
Yeah.
world cannot depend on
Yes.
one source.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you
You're
very
right.
much.
You're right.
Any other question,
Thank you.
please, Jen? Thank you. Any
Thank
other
you.
question?
You're welcome.
Any other question, please? Okay, Asad, you may give the concluding remarks, please.
On the behalf of Trade Development Authority of Pakistan, I would like to thank Project Forum Day, our Commercial Council of Frankfurt, Germany. I will also thank our esteemed guest speakers, Mr. Thomas Lang, Managing Director of IVPS Germany EP Manufacturer Association, and Ms. Horn, Project Director A+A, World Leading Trade Fair and Safety, Security and Health Works. So it was really very informative sessions regarding how the Pakistani manufacturers can enter in the PP market of the Germany, and what are the legal requirements and trends in current situation. So we have, I hope that our exporters and manufacturers have got insight about the German markets, especially PP and wares. I'm thankful to you and guest speakers. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for the invitation. Please stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Stay safe. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.